I need to click go live, but I don't see anything yet. Just connecting. Oh, there we go. I have to change the title. It says Lab 0.
Guys, welcome to Lab 0.
Actually, Tammy, are you still tutoring?
Yeah, I'm still tutoring.
Oh, you're crazy.
Tom, I can see 2 cats. And then he says we'll be back. Okay, so do we go live? How can I tell? It's unlisted. It's changed to public.
You can like leave audio on Zoom and then play it on YouTube.
I don't even need to go live. Now it just says end stream. It looks like it's already live.
Oh, nice.
I need to give you a link though. I literally just made it public. What do I? Did it though? It's just called AMA. Oh, it's live. I can see it. I can see it. Let's hear it. 1 sec. Let me just mute it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it as well.
Okay.
Are you watching yourself on the live stream, Shane?
I can see it's like probably 10-minute delay. Like it's Teresa talking about working from home.
No. Wait, the thing you were talking about, that was from the one that I ended it because that one was broken. It's a new link that was 10 minutes ago.
So the 10-minute delay is reasonable.
Okay, right. Yeah, I thought that was a long delay.
Now I need to see if this is actually working for me too.
It is working. Like I can see Teresa here.
Oh no.
All right, there we go. Cool. That sounds like it's working to me because like I wasn't audible before. I'm special because Zoom won't output my audio, but can you just check that like that is in fact working? Because I had massive troubles with this when I was trying to stream last week for 151. Is there any?
Okay, so where's the new link? We need to post a new link.
Yeah.
Okay. Trey, where are you when we need you?
New link, who dis?
Share. Now it's time to change the name. Oh, I can see people on the chat.
Shrey, can you just check that you can hear me? And then Kai, can you say something as well, please?
Yep, I've been saying stuff. I just changed the name of the event. And
yep, Shrey, if you can just confirm that you could both hear me and Kai, because the last time I tried to stream with OBS, it had major problems. Yay, awesome. The best bit is I've got a mute button here, so if I'm just like, if everyone starts telling like embarrassing stories about my time as grievance officer, I can just sort of like remove it. Like, what was that, Tammy? You were talking about that time that... Oh, I don't think anyone heard that. Shouldn't have given me the stream key.
Oh no. Okay. Shall we get started?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. Sorry about the technical difficulties as usual. And here are all of our execs, not all, 4 of our execs from last year. Would you guys like to introduce yourself? Who wants to go first?
Who should go first, Kai?
Preston, of course. Preston.
All right, Tammy, you're up.
Hi guys, I'm Tammy. I'm I was one of the co-presidents in 2020. I just finished my coursework in a Bachelor of Software Engineering. Yay!
Congratulations!
Yeah.
Yay!
Yay! Yes, and that's my intro, I think.
Cool. Shane.
Yo, what's up? I'm Shane. I was also co-pres with Tammy last year. Also did software. Also just graduated. And yeah, that's about it.
Shane is now living on the dark side, it would seem.
I'm living on the streets. No, I'm just at a park right now. So that's why it's all dark.
Very nice.
But it's a good view.
That's cool.
Teresa?
All right, I guess I got nominated by Tom. I'm Teresa. I was last year's treasurer. I will be graduating end of this term. I'm excited for that.
Exciting. Tom, when are you graduating?
Yeah, I'm Tom. I'm graduating somewhere around the end of 2023, I think. I am in my 4th year of what was supposed to be a 3-year computer science degree. Yeah. To be fair, I graduate from my undergrad start of next year, and then I'm just gonna like extend my thesis too.
Cool. Is that a comp sci thesis?
Yeah, so it'll be a comp sci thesis. That's the plan, at least.
Beautiful. People always throw out their plans anyway, but yeah. Okay, we'll get into our Slido questions. Okay, here's a question. Given that academics tend to have similar weight in job applications compared to extracurriculars, do you think students should like divert more time to the latter, which is extracurriculars over academics?
Who wants to field that one? I vote Tammy.
I vote Tammy too. Tammy says
I vote Shane for trying to throw Tammy in the deep end.
I think I vote Tom as well. Tom can go after Tammy.
Tammy?
Yeah, I think that depends on everyone's goals. Like if your goal is to apply for jobs, because for me personally, like if it was talking about me, then I didn't really think about things like that at uni and like what kind of opportunities to pick. Like I didn't really think about, oh, like this is easier to get a job or this is harder to get a job if you do this and so on. It was more focused on how much growth you think and how much satisfaction you think you will get out of that particular opportunity. Because for me, I didn't really know, like for example, in first year, I didn't really know what I was going to do in 4 to 5 years time. Like you could have something, but you're like, oh, I want to keep an open mind. And you're like, well, I don't really want to restrict myself. So I was more focused on just things like being in the moment and focusing on the opportunities that were available to me that I really thought that I would grow in. And I really stood by the idea of like getting into things that I was really uncomfortable with. So any opportunities out there, which I was like, oh, I'm a little bit nervous about, or I'm going to be really scared about, those are the ones that I do. So I guess there's not really like a weighting between extracurricular or academics, because there's also like academic extracurricular kind of thing. I don't know if they count as extracurricular, but yeah, they're like, I think it's just in the moment which part, like what opportunities are out there versus if there's not much opportunities that I want, then I'll do my studies. If there's a lot of opportunities that I think will help me grow, then I'll try and cater to both. So there's not like that much compromise. Like I try to do that, but that's probably not the best for mental health. Yeah. I don't think that answered the question, but that's just my mindset when I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's some good idea. So when you said like academics kind of extracurricular, you talk about tutoring and stuff.
Yeah. So tutoring, so I know people say because it's a paid thing, so technically it's a job, but like I never really thought it as a job. It was more of an extracurricular thing for me, like anything that's like helping me to gain like that kind of satisfaction or that kind of growth, that one. So yeah, tutoring, what else? Like your researchy kind of things. Like I never got a chance to do those, but those stuff are quite cool. You've got like different kinds of technical projects you can work on with people and like, you know, stuff like that. Like that's like kind of academic-y, like it's not necessarily like things outside of what you learn, but it's still like extracurricular. Yeah, that stuff.
Cool. Tom, do you have more input to that?
Yeah, I think the thing about extracurricular stuff at uni, and this is sort of a bigger point. It's a bit of a lie that like the computer science degree is the thing that really matters. Because like a lot of what we learn here, like you know, the learning how to program stuff. Obviously, that's important. You know, like graduating with the base level of skills that you can write some software, really useful. If there's a specialization that you're going into, like AI or security, there's probably a lot there that you can learn. But outside of that, I think a lot of what we're actually doing here is not getting the good grades. It's learning to be human. It's learning to work with people. And to the extent that there are technical skills, there are also a lot of technical skills that they won't teach you at UNSW. Like it's a big thing within the degree program to be like, we don't just want to teach the latest tool because the latest tool will change in 5 years. What we want to teach you is the way to think about those tools. And that's great, but it also means that on your own time, you've got to use the skills that you're learning within your degree to then go and get those tools, things like, you know, React or Vue, things like the security tools that people are using for penetration or for reverse engineering, whatever. So I think I would say when you're trying to decide on a split between the work that you're doing in your university and the work that you're doing extracurricular, the extracurricular work is often the point. And finally, the last thing I'd say is like the way that you get a job for most people, I would argue, you know, a lot of people will go through like recruitment and those sorts of things. But I think that there are other pathways into jobs that involves, you know, you meet somebody at a bar somewhere because they were at a CSESoc event and they think you're interesting and they say, oh, hey, we've got this cool opportunity. There's some stat like 75% of jobs like are never published, and it's just that you like go and find them yourself. So I think, again, the extracurricular stuff gives you that opportunity to go and meet those people, to go and find those opportunities, and then get the skills that make you attractive to those sorts of people. Yeah, so I personally, if there was going to be a weighting between them, I think a lot of it would be on the extracurricular stuff. I also can't talk because I do way more tutoring than I should for somebody who's still a student. So that doesn't help either. That's sort of my answer, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Learning to be human, that must have been tough for you, Tom. How did you cope with that one?
It was very difficult. What do you mean? There's a joke in 1511 that they keep all the lecturers in VATs somewhere in K17. And I have a suspicion that that's soon going to extend to like course admins and senior tutors as well. So it was kind of difficult. Yeah, you're right, Shane.
Yeah, sorry, Shane, I interrupt you there, but I was gonna say, yeah, Tom, your stats, I remember that one. It's like an iceberg, and then it's like only 15 or 25% of the jobs are actually out marketed, but like the rest is internal recruiting or networking, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And like even, you know, the companies, the tech companies that I've seen, they all have like internal referral programs and those sorts of things as well, where, you know, if you know somebody in the company or you meet somebody and you impress them, you can get a referral, and that like means that you get straight into a first round interview or something. And even that can be like a massive leg up, because to the extent to which like your transcript or like your marks mean something, I think a lot of it can happen at the entryway, where they're just looking for ways to sort of cut down on people. I don't know that happens in all companies, but to the extent that it does in those companies, you can get around it to some extent by having those connections. That's been my experience, at least.
Yeah, Shane, Teresa, do you guys have any other thoughts?
Look, I don't have a prepared answer like Tom's rehearsed one, but no, I think they're both important. I think it's hard to give blanket advice because like you might need to put in more hours for academics if you feel that, or you might need to put in less. But yeah, I think definitely do both. That's about it for me.
Yeah, I think for me it's just like, if like I understand that society is probably not for everyone. Like I think there's like, if you don't enjoy that kind of like doing society stuff, I think that's totally understandable. But I think finding something outside of your academics to do creates a bit of a separation to kind of keep a nice balance as well, is what I like. It kept me sane in uni, so I don't always think about uni, think about academics. And then it just ended up being, you met a lot of people who end up helping you a lot as well. Like a lot of people I met in societies helped me with uni, and like vice versa. So yeah, I definitely think it's, at least from my experience, I found it helped me a lot. Not even in the form of like it helped me if I land a job. It just like helped me academically even. And yeah, having like a group of people that can share a common experience is really nice.
Yeah, 100%. When you're in a society.
What about you, Kai? What do you think?
Well, I think extracurricular, yeah, super important. I will probably do both. I wouldn't be like put more weight on one and then forget about the other. Yeah. But definitely looking to like balance out. That's really important.
Amen.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for the answers. Really good. Ryan posted this question, not anonymously. Ryan King, why is media portfolio this year so much better than last year?
Because CSESoc gets better year by year.
Yeah, Ryan.
You learn from the mistakes and build on it.
Yeah, building on each other. That's teamwork and collaboration throughout every single year of CSESoc.
Yeah, I don't know. You'll have to ask Clarence and Aditi as well. They might.
Yeah, Ryan, you should
take
take it back
issue
to
with
your old director.
Yeah. Yeah, and next year is going to be better than this year's for sure. Otherwise, we're going back instead of going forward. Cool. What are your strategies to get students engaged with your society? This might be a question from another exec from other societies.
Free food.
Feel like, yeah, barbecues. I don't know. I don't like workshops, all the events we did. I don't know.
Yeah, can I say something to this?
Hey, go ahead.
I think the thing about engagement with CSESoc that's a little bit different than other societies that I've at least observed from the outside is that because we have sort of we have CSE students who by virtue of their enrollment are CSESoc members. That really means that there's a level of engagement that we start with, whereas other societies probably don't have that same level of engagement. I think CSESoc does a lot to capture that. So things like our first year camp is definitely a secret strategy that's not so secret, designed to get people to meet friends and to form connections to CSESoc that mean that they're then going to do things like apply to be on subcom or join more events. I think we're also just such a large organization that people can find a niche that they enjoy. Projects has a large following of people because people are interested in different projects, whereas if you're interested in socials or media, those are both also portfolios that you can look at. So how do you get engagement? I think the two things that we do is we start off with an engaged student base already, which is somewhat hard if you're from a society that doesn't have that base already. And then we have a wide variety of things going on that mean that you can enjoy yourself, whether you're more artsy or more technical based or whatever.
Demi, want to say?
I think adding. Oh, sorry. What was that, Kai? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, because you started moving your mouth. I was like, did you want to say something?
Oh yeah. I think just adding on to that, I think it's like Tom said, but as well as that, I think what CSESoc this year has done really well as well is from the stuff that's been posted and events that I've seen, it's we're more and more trying to cater for variety of audiences and the diverse range of people. So for example, if you had a particular event that's not necessarily having a lot of people who's coming to your event or whatnot, that doesn't necessarily, I feel, mean that you're not making as much impact or whatnot, because you're catering for a minority of people who this event might be particularly suited to, and it's really important to kind of cover that diverse audience rather than just doing events that majority of people always go to, kind of thing. So yeah, that's just all I wanted to say.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I guess we can move on. Yeah, moving on. Does the high level of responsibility and tension bestow your mental health? Okay, so like, yeah, because in CSESoc there's a lot of responsibilities. Does like affect any of your mental health? Did that ever happen?
So I can say not in my case. I definitely didn't feel like there was. To be honest, I actually felt like it was quite low stakes. That's how I would describe it. And I think just uni society stuff in general is pretty low stakes, especially compared to like, after uni when you get a job and stuff. I'd say the stakes then are a bit higher. Still, not super crazy, but yeah, I didn't feel like it was a lot of pressure or responsibility. And I feel like that made it easier and made me more like productive when I was doing CSESoc stuff. But yeah, so I wouldn't consider it like, I don't think you should think of it as like a super big responsibility thing.
I think it also depends on like how you personally cope with things that you do and your personal expectations of yourself versus where you are right now. Like for me, I generally just everything I do, I get freaked out about disappointing people. So when going into like stuff like this, like execs in CSESoc, it was like the biggest stress out for me because there's just so many people you're affecting. And just by doing nothing, it stresses me out. Like if I'm doing nothing, if I'm doing something, it stresses me out because then what about that thing? Like, am I affecting someone? Am I disappointing someone? Is it affecting other people's mental health? And then you start forgetting about your own kind of, self-care and so on because you're trying to see like if everyone else is okay and you're trying to see like trying to cover everything, and then in the end you kind of like have to, I guess it was a learning process for me in the end. Like I kind of learned like you gotta kind of let go of some things and kind of focus a bit on self-care in order to care for other people. You kind of have to care for yourself a little bit more to do that. So yes, it is like a big effect on your mental health if you're not that great at if you're like a stress head like me. Yeah,
I think last year was nice because the team, like, we had a real mix of people. Like, I remember Tammy and we had like sort of different approaches or like felt differently about that sort of thing, but it worked out well because we like balance. It made the team more balanced, I feel like.
I remember at one point we sort of plotted everyone on the team out on like a stress graph from like least stressed to most stressed. I don't remember exactly where that graph sat, but I remember that I think it was Tammy who was like, I'm sorry to call you out, Tammy. And to be clear, I thought it was quite funny. I moved like up the stress graph over the year. I think everyone realized that I was like more of a stressy person than I looked, which I thought was quite funny. So there's your first like secret CSESoc spoiler for the evening. But I think it is a thing of like different personalities react in different ways to the stress, because I think like there is stress in running a society. It's more like how you respond to that.
Was Samuel like all the way on the scale, like the most stressed person?
I don't remember, and even if I did, I feel like calling people out might not be good for A, anyone's mental health, or B, my physical health once Tammy found out where I was. Or other people, I don't know.
We technically know where you live, Tom, but...
Okay, fair point, but still.
I feel like Tammy and Teresa were like the most conscientious in the team.
Yeah, you just like triggered a memory I blocked out. The minute you said the stress level chart that we mapped out, I was like, oh no, I forgot that even happened. But
I apologize.
actually, I found that really, really helpful. Honestly, like I was thinking back and I was thinking I didn't really feel that stress until you reminded me of that chart, and I was thinking actually at the start I think I was really stressed because like you're living up to a legacy of the previous year and you don't want to, like Kai said, like next year will be better. Like what if we're not the year that's better? What a year that's worse, especially we had to deal with COVID, and like everything kind of just like spiraled, and it was like a huge change. So at the start, it was really hard. Like it definitely, I did feel that pressure, and then like later on, I think what was a bit different was I think that chart was a turning point because it was really interesting to know what everyone's priorities were, and that makes no sense without context. But like I think everyone's nodding because everyone knows what I'm talking about. But like it was really interesting to know what each of our priorities are, and then afterwards it's kind of like, okay, well I can kind of see where they're coming from, and then everyone kind of just helped out each other, and you kind of know where to balance out because you know what triggers or like what someone is more conscious about, and then everything else is fine. And now I think in hindsight, it felt pretty chill, but in the moment, I'm sure it was a little bit stressful.
I think the thing Teresa said, like about the, like we had a chat amongst ourselves about like our priorities, our values, and like things that we care about more versus other things in running a society and stuff. Like that was probably for like me as well. That was probably one of the most rewarding kind of experience I had, like that kind of open chat and like really being honest with each other, and really understanding like who you're working with and stuff. Like out of like my entire life of like working in teams, I feel, yeah, it's like a really worthwhile thing to do with like teams you're working with, just having an open chat.
I do feel like,
yeah, and I think that was.
Oh, sorry, Teresa.
Oh, sorry, Tom. No, please go first.
All I was going to say was I think it's one of the nice things about being in a society, particularly on the executive or on a director's team, or even in like a subcom, is you get quite close to the people on that subcom, and you get to know them quite well, and you get to see what, like, speaking of teamwork and like, you know, things to learn from a society versus, you know, a course. Like you really learn teamwork on something that's not just like, oh, it's a 10-week project. It's like, oh, this is a real, a thing you're managing, you know, tens of thousands of dollars. You're managing hundreds of people. You're managing events that are really big, and you get to know the other people there. And it's funny because stress forms those like relationships and bonds and stuff. Teresa, were you going to say something? I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay. Kind of can't remember, but it was something like, yeah, like I think that moment was like so interesting because like I think it took away so much from that, like that chat. It was like a 4-hour conversation, something like that. We were up until uni at like 12 a.m. in the morning, and then we were just having this chat, and it was really eye opening to kind of. We just sat in a circle. We're just like everyone around in a circle and just gave our perspectives, and then it was kind of like a click, and it's like, oh, okay, and it was really great, and kind of want to bring that to my other teams, as Tom said. It's really helpful.
I think that sounds really nice. We should do that sometimes. I'll bring it to my exec team. What was the next question? What are some things that you wanted to do as execs but you didn't get a chance to?
Incorporate.
We're incorporated. This happened.
Yeah, but we didn't do it.
I think that you will find
close enough.
We got the Constitution through. Everything happened except getting the piece of paper. And so, while I would admit that the next executive got it over the line, I feel like we made it most of the marathon to there. So
yeah, I think we just literally took your effort and then turned it into the paper. That's it.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Shrey in chat saying, "Yeah, I had to carry you all," shaking my head. To which I would say, "That's mean, Shrey. That's hurtful." So for those of you who don't know, incorporation was the society originally was what's called unincorporated, which means that like each individual person is liable for the actions that they take, and it means that like individual people have to sign contracts. Whereas what we did last year and finished off at the start of this year is CSESoc is now a legal entity, which means that like if you're looking to sue someone, you sue CSESoc, not like Tom. And that means that like it makes it easier for us to enter into contracts. It makes it easier to do things like if we take actions, we don't get sued. So that was something that we've been looking at for a few years. And in fact, Sid, who I saw was in the chat, was looking into it back in 2019. And it was a process that took quite a while. But yeah, so I'm kind of sad that didn't. I'm sad that didn't happen while we were there. But also like I am glad that has happened now. Teresa, Tam?
Yeah, wouldn't mind getting Sid's thoughts. I also see him in chat. He'll probably try and take credit for it or something. Nah.
Teresa and Tammy?
I wish I got to spend more money
More money.
I feel like I just saw so much money in the bank account. I never got to spend it. I was a bit sad.
We're spending it now.
Yeah, now you get to spend all the money. But yeah.
I would say as well, Socktail is something I'm sad didn't happen
Yeah,
last year.
Socktail.
Yes, so true.
'Cause-
I don't know if we can run it this year.
One of the that's like, so typically Socktail, which is like the formal event that CSESoc runs. Typically the execs are the one to organize that as well. So like last year, that was definitely like one of the main things I remember our exec doing near the end of the year was taking a large part organizing that. I think that would have been a good thing for us to do as well, but it was just obviously COVID meant that we couldn't do that, which was a real shame, I think. But yeah, Tammy, did you want to say something as well?
I think there were things that I wanted to do as execs after I finished, but looking at the stuff that CSESoc is doing this year, a lot of things that like I was like, oh, it would be good to do like that, like you guys actually like this year actually like are doing them. Like for example, you're like you were advertising about like the camp for all years, like the camp leader thing for all years, that kind of thing. That came across my head, but we never went on to do that stuff. And there's a lot of other stuff. I'm like, oh, it's so good. Like you guys ended up being able to do it. A lot of the things that like sometimes that came across my head, but I wasn't like, we didn't implement it or I didn't bring up and stuff. And I'm like, well, it's not really like a regret or like didn't get a chance to do it anymore because you guys got to do it. So at the end of the day, like CSESoc still did something like that and had an idea like that. So I'm like, it's good.
Yeah, the second camp, credit to all socials because they're organizing it. It wasn't even exact, just like the social team, they brought it up and then we approved it. It was it was amazing. But hopefully it will happen because lockdown, right, or whatever. Yeah. Okay, what are something about CSESoc that people didn't know about? Secrets. Almost talking about it, the stress chart. Anything else?
How much things go into work like CSESoc that doesn't show on the outside. I feel like that's like one of the biggest things. Like having had this experience of like exec, you kind of see an overview of what happens in like a society and what you have to do and what everyone has to do. And then like coming out of it, like whenever I see like events or like society stuff or like anything, I kind of empathize on the other end, and it's like understand better. Like if this happens, then I understand why. Like it's kind of like there's just a shocking amount of work that goes behind the scenes. So anything that gets gets out to everyone, like in the public or like in CSESoc and stuff, like I feel like it's like a really good job already. Like even if it's just like releasing an event, like without running it, I'm saying like there's a lot of preparation that's already been in it as well. So it's like I think it's just the amount of work that goes into things. Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely resonate. It's like if you've never been an exec, you have no idea how much work there is behind it. Like it's like when I was in first year, I was trying to run for president and then Steve talked me out of it. It was like I had no idea how much work to do. Like going from a subcom straight to the president, that's crazy now that I think about it. But yeah, thanks, Sid. It was like you have no idea how much work there is, so don't run for president. And I didn't. And
I think there are a few things that come to my mind. So I'm sorry if I steal other people's thoughts, but the money that goes into a society, especially like CSESoc, like running things like camp or Socktail, or even some of our like larger events, takes like quite a large amount of money. And we run them below cost often. I don't know which events this year would be the ones that really ran below cost, but what that means is like you are not paying enough money to make those events happen. So all of the work that then goes into finding sponsors, into negotiating with things like the school, all of those places from which we get money, camp always runs at like a massive loss. Those things I think are often hidden, not deliberately, but just because like nobody really wants to know what goes into that. But it is a massive amount of work, and also it's something that really happens at the start of the year too. So it's like the new exec, the first thing that they do is like, all right, welcome to the exec. Now please find the like sponsors to get us to the money that we need for the year. That's one thing. Does anyone else want to jump in? Because I've got another thing as well, but I don't want to steal from other people.
I think sure is like
Hey, for me.
right? More about the money that gets subsidized.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know how much people know about the money or don't know about the money, because we do report it all in the AGM. Is that the AGM? And we're sorry, I can't remember it anymore. And yeah, it just gets all reported. So if you do match up the numbers, it's actually pretty. But yeah, we do make basically a loss on everything. We don't make profit on anything. So basically we get money at the end, and that determines how much we can lose. And then we keep like a baseline to like in case to cover anything that we need to like pay for that's really big, like a deposit on the camp. You would not be able to. I don't think I've handled that much money ever until like CSESoc, and like technically it kind of gets added to your bank account as like a separate like account, so you get to see the money. And every time I look at my bank account, it always makes me feel so rich. But then I look at my own bank account and it's not that good.
Yeah, the problems with treasurers. Tom, did you have another thing?
Yeah, the other thing I'd say as well is, and this comes back to the sort of like bonding that happens as exec or directors, is like we try and organize things for the directors, like road trips. Exec often will have separate meetings. The subcoms as well. Even if you join a subcom, a lot of subcoms will run those events. There are events, I know when I was workshops director with Shane, we ran an event that was specifically for workshops to sort of show off what they had done throughout the year.
Projects, not workshops.
Oh, excuse me, projects. What am I saying? My sincere apologies. With projects, as I should have said, it's been too long now. But yes, there are other events that we run, or things that we just organize on our own time because we are friends or because we're working together, and those are like among the things that I'll probably remember most about CSESoc. Not because I didn't enjoy all the events and stuff, but like because you do make really good friends being on exec or being a director, and that is it's quite valuable. So I've now spoiled all the secrets that I have about CSESoc. If you want to learn about the secrets of CSE, you can watch my old workshop talk about that.
Workshop.
Just gonna plug that one.
Yeah. All right. Cool. This is a very interesting question. What do you guys want to see CSESoc in 5 years?
A lot of merch. I think maybe CSESoc should have their own, and we talked about this a bit last year, but should have their own cryptocurrency, like a CSE stock or something. But yeah, that's one idea. I'll think of some more merch. Anyone else got ideas?
I can't see CSESoc changing too much in 5 years. I feel like the core essence of it will still be pretty similar. And what might change is probably like the workshop content will probably change with all the no longer React, no more Vue, no more Angular. But I can't really see anything else changing. I can see first year camp staying, maybe the all years camp staying if it goes well or actually happens this year. Fingers crossed. I think everything that everyone's run, like the reason why they stay is because everyone likes them so much, and so I can kind of see them staying for the long run. Like I hope barbecue stay forever.
Yeah, one thing I could see becoming like much bigger is the podcasts. I feel like the reach of those could like expand a lot if there was a lot of attention and effort devoted to it. But we'll see. I don't know.
Something that came up in my mind last year was like if one day we could like, because right now like our society like does collaborate with other unis for stuff as well. So maybe like in the long term, like we're kind of interconnected, like build up a network with like internationally with like different student societies overseas as well. So you're really, you know, not just interacting with people in Sydney or Australia, but you're interacting with students, university students across the globe that's doing CSE. And I think that will be pretty massive and amazing. Like if we could do something like that and start some kind of a, you know, I don't know what that would look like, but it's just something that sounded pretty cool and it popped up in my head.
Yeah, it definitely is. In 5 years, imagine you can talk to like societies from a different country, and then we have events collaborating. Yeah, that'll be super awesome.
Yeah. The other thing I'd say as well, and this is probably a more pragmatic thing from what I've seen, is CSESoc is massive. It is an incredibly large society, which I think has a lot of benefits because it means that we have the funds to do things like run a first year camp that's a really big one that's accessible to lots of people. It means that we can do lots and lots of events and we can have all of these different sub parts to ourselves. But I think one of the things that imposes is it means that there is a lot there is a lot of organization that is going on, and also there are a lot of very disparate things that are happening. I think one of the things that I would like to see happen is CSESoc putting more of an emphasis onto creating autonomous parts of itself that can grow without needing to have CSESoc grow with it. I think it's going to be necessary if we want to keep the scale that we're at and keep growing, to have more to try and either spin things out or to have more like separation between parts of CSESoc, not just because like I think CSESoc as an entity is awesome, but just because the things that we can do will be much bigger if we can have sort of less coordination or at least more sort of federation of what we're doing.
Decentralized.
I think we've already like taken steps towards that. Like the whole director model, it kind of means that like directors can take their own ambitions and work with them themselves. I think we're going to see sort of that going further. That's what I'd like to see, because what I want to see is like CSESoc being able to continue to grow, which I think is quite hard to do with the state that it's currently in.
Yeah, I think we were thinking about like vice presidents or whatever, and then just like more layers, and then people can do their own thing.
Yeah, I think I think it's going to be interesting to see what strategies emerge from those sorts of discussions. I will be curious to see what strategies CSESoc uses to be able to continue to grow, because like I think everyone realizes that having 50 directors is going to like get to the point where that's unsustainable, and having 10 exec with 30 directors and 250 subcom members or whatever, like you very quickly scale to a point where it's hard to run things. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what we do to continue to combat that problem.
Yeah, be very interested to see what that's going to be like in 5 years. Someone said that you graduated but wasn't involved in extracurriculars back in uni, but is there anything they can do to make it up for it at this point?
Yeah, you could be a workshop presenter. There's often a lot of alumni that do that. I'm sure there are other ways as well. I'll have to think. Someone else can go.
You can be a guest on the AMAs.
Yeah, you can do AMAs. You can do a podcast, workshops.
Talk to your company about sponsoring CSESoc or getting involved with CSESoc in terms of I keep talking about sponsorship. I feel like such a shill, but like genuinely like getting more companies involved and contributing back into academia and that sort of thing is also quite helpful, I would say.
I guess I'll loop back to the previous question and say what see 5 years. Probably, I think Tammy started this, which is growing the alumni community, right? That was like a pet project of yours. I can see that definitely growing a lot as well. Potentially that could be a source.
I think for me, like the question about how you can make up for it, I feel like it's less of how to make up for it because you never, I don't see it as like you've lost something. Like I interpret making up for it as in like you lost something and you try to cover up for it. But I think everyone's had different uni experiences, and even if you didn't do that much extracurricular, you gained, you know, other experiences, or you made some kind of realization, or you learned in other ways and you grew in other ways. And graduating out of uni, I feel like uni is just the start of the journey. Like there's so much more to explore. It's not just uni extracurriculars as well. Like you can do stuff in your community, you can do stuff with volunteering outside of like, you know, stuff. You can do stuff in your like local council. Like you can explore like the similar kind of nature of things as what you do in extracurricular like student society stuff within uni, but outside at a much larger scale, like in your community, in your city, in your like country and stuff. And yeah, I think it's less of a make up for it. Like it's more, there's a whole world where you can try different things, or you can start your own initiatives and stuff. So yeah, it's the start of the journey, and you've learned something, I guess. Like from this question, I guess the realization here is that you want to do more extracurricular. So that's already a really good starting point, I feel.
100%. I think those are some really good points. Wow, I really do not like this question, but here we go. How do you feel about the new execs? Any tea?
Oh, I've got so much tea. Let me just start with Shrey.
Shay, did you hear that?
Yeah, and so that's why I wouldn't trust them with my life. What?
I don't know about T, but I was pretty happy with the new execs. Also, just like I know you weren't a director last year, Kai, but I would have been happy like with anyone. Like I didn't see like of all the directors that put their hand up, I would have been happy with all of them. Like it would have been tough to imagine a bad team. But yeah, I think the team this year has killed it. All the events and stuff have gone super well. The Discord has been a massive success, way better than the Slack was, which is my bad. Yeah, I think it's hard to fault you guys in anything you've done this year because it's all been pretty good. As much as I'd like to fault you because 2020 make 2020 look better.
I don't think there's any way to make 2020 look good just in general. I think CSESoc
like the 2020 team.
Oh, okay, right. That more sense. Yeah. I'm definitely like very happy with all the things that the 2021 exec has done. I think we had a great team coming after us. I think they've done a lot to keep improving, and I'm even more excited to see what a 2022 team is going to do after that. I think we said it earlier, like every year should be improving, and I think every year does improve. Yeah.
Anyone? I can't remember. Can you guys remember T? I feel like there was maybe at the beginning of the year, but I can't remember. It might be sensitive.
Apart from what I said earlier, yeah, no, I can't remember anything. Yeah. Sorry to whoever asked this question. You can't get for the more interesting version. You need to like message us afterwards for all the real goss. I shouldn't say that because now people actually message. Don't mess me up. There isn't any goss. I promise.
There's nothing to ask. There's nothing to see here. No tea, no tea.
What was? I feel like there was some like discussion or disagreement between Michael and Shrey at the beginning of the year, but I literally can't remember what. So it might be like I'm not hiding it. Maybe if I scroll through Messenger chat, you can find it.
Okay, Shane.
But I'm not going to do that.
He'll be back in 5 minutes with some tea. So let's move on. What did you guys do before becoming a CSESoc exec? That's I don't know, directors or anything else interesting you guys want to talk about?
I think we were all directors before. Tom and I were on the same portfolio project.
Not workshop.
I think it was Comp Club.
I'm sorry.
And Tammy was StuNet, if I still remember right.
were we all subcom before that?
Not all.
Okay, I think
Not
I was subcom.
I applied
You
for
know,
project subcom in
subcom.
2019. I didn't make it, and then I was lucky enough to get asked back to direct in 2020. Oh, sorry, 2018 I applied. I didn't get it. 2019 I directed. 2020 I was exec.
Yeah. And I was saying there was no subcom for student before, so Tammy wasn't a subcom, right?
Yeah, I don't think Tammy, were you in subcom?
No. There was no subcom as such, like the subcom for student. No. Yeah, I was like peer mentor. Does it count? Like peer mentor kind of things. So, yeah, no subcoms.
Ooh. How did you guys use your CSESoc exec experience in interviews? I really like that question. Because I actually did use, like, when they ask you like behavioral questions, I actually use a lot of like examples from CSESoc. Like, did you guys feel the same way?
I've
No.
certainly used some.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think what particular things I've used. So I found some of the experience I had around, particularly in like grievance, just being able to talk generally about resolving conflict there, was something that I've been able to use and talk about. In general terms, not to spill any tea, but just sort of generally talking about trying to make sure that we headed off problems at the pass, and then trying to resolve things that way. That's certainly something that I've used. I also think when you're talking about things like projects director, which is a very large group of people that you're managing, I've also spoken there about sort of particularly I mentioned a lot the benefit of having a team underneath you, because I think Shane and I would agree that we had a very sort of relatively hands-off.
Dysfunctional. Dysfunctional.
That wasn't the word I was going to use, but we like our style of running projects was relatively hands-off for a
laissez-faire. Yeah.
And so having the teams underneath us, that meant that they could then go on and grow was something that I was able to talk about as well. Those are the main two things I think that I would talk about from interview experience. That's probably the summary I'd give. Tammy, Teresa, Shane, all the people who graduated actually, as opposed to sticking around in academia for the next 15
having
years.
a job right now. Yeah.
I can go next. I didn't really use my exec because I didn't really interview for anything after I did exec. So I interviewed a lot when I was a director. So I used my director experience a lot. Like, it's all the behavioral questions, like when did you have to work as a team? Tell me a time when you solved conflict. Like, it was just so easy to just pick something out and like didn't have to make something up. Like, it was just there was so many times that I could think of to fill in those answers. Yeah, director was like really, really awesome, because I think like the ones that's like, what's your weakness? I could easily pinpoint something that I've noticed and how did you work on it? And yeah, I think that's mainly the behavioral questions really, really stood out.
100%. Okay.
What's that? Did you say my name, Kai?
Tammy or Shane, I don't know. Do you guys have any experience with interviewing?
I'm trying to think of stuff. Tammy, you go.
For me, I did use my exec experience. I think for me, it was more like I'm a very expressive person when it comes to like these kind of what people call, I think, behavioral interview questions, because I start talking about like experiences where it was deeply memorable emotionally. Generally, I like experiences that I link to emotionally, because those are the ones where I get the most growth and learnings out of, or experiences out of. So a lot of times in interviews, I think I'm just basically talking about how I feel, or like the thoughts that go through my head when this particular thing happened. So yes, I did use my CSESoc experiences to answer the question. I was just mostly talking about like what I got out of particular things and how I felt during the process. And yeah, it's hard to like explain any further because I don't know, like there's a bunch of experiences that you can kind of pull out. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really think of specific examples where I did that. I'm sure I did do it, but just none really come to mind. I might have just sort of, I don't know, been saying like a bunch of fluffy stuff about how I resolve the conflict or something. I don't really remember.
Times you've worked with someone difficult, just like the other
That
project
actually,
director,
yeah, Tom gave me a lot of ammunition for that one.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Had a lot to talk about. No, that's it for me.
Typical. What is your proudest achievement and biggest regret from your time as exec?
I can answer the regret one. I feel like the regret for me was probably pushing the Slack so hard because it was a bit of a failure. But at the same time, it maybe prompted the Discord, which I think has been really successful. So I don't know necessarily if it's a regret. Proudest, I don't know. I really enjoyed the road trips and just how close like the whole team got from road trip and just like I don't know other stuff like other in person and I guess even some of the online events. So I can't think of one to pinpoint at the moment. Who else wants to answer that?
I'm sure 2020 left some regrets for any of you.
Teresa?
Yeah, Stocktail was probably a regret. I was really looking forward to Stocktail. It was definitely like a highlight for me from 2019, and being able to pull like a massive party to celebrate the achievements of 2020 and also kickstart next year would have been really, really awesome. Proudest achievement. Probably not really something to do with treasurer, but I feel like we picked a really good team. I feel like if anything, we picked if we didn't do anything right, we picked a really good team who did their part right really well. But on the side note, probably just make a lot of spreadsheets. Prepare my spreadsheets.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I feel like Sid and Ali said to us like if there's one thing to do right, just make sure you pick good people, which I think we did.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Tammy, do you want to say something?
You go first.
So the thing I'm happiest about, like I was very happy with incorporation and the fact that by the end of the year we'd managed to get through a bunch of changes to the constitution. I understand that's a very procedural thing, but I was still quite happy about that, and that was something that I'd really set my sights on at the start of the year. Biggest regret is harder because there was a time earlier in the year where I remember that I had to have a conversation with a few people about the fact that I probably was being too directorial. I don't know what the right word is, like telling people to do stuff rather than letting things happen. I regret that happened, and I regret that I had made those mistakes, but I also learned from those mistakes. I think I hope people would say that I did. So that's sort of what I'd say there is that experience earlier on in the year kind of it helped, but I also regret that it happened in the first place.
Yeah, mine is a little bit different. Yeah, proudest, I think less of a proud thing. Proud probably isn't the right word, but it's something that I always think back and enjoy is the team thing. Like in the exec team, we have like a really good balance of people. I think we mentioned this before, and I think in terms of like the balance, like there's so like different perspectives, different kind of like people or thinking processes, and we have different values and stuff. So there's so much that I learned by working with the exec team. And I think I'm just really happy that I got to, work with the people. Oh, this is so cringy, but like, yeah, work with the people I worked with. Oh, okay, moving on. Biggest regret is a little bit weird, but like I wish I kept a diary entry of like kept a diary as I went through doing CSESoc stuff and just noted down like different kinds of experiences, my feelings at that point, what I got out of things, and just had it like a regular diary. Then like I can look back up on it and just to reflect how much what have you learned, what have you grown out of it, and really remember like where you were in the beginning kind of thing as well. I think that would have been really valuable and to keep as a memory as well. So that's a regret, like a personal regret, I feel. Yeah.
I'd like to change my regret to what Tammy said.
Same.
Do you regret your person? Do you regret the regret that you just said?
Yeah, I regret that Tammy didn't tell me about this regret a while ago. Yeah.
I might start doing that. But someone asked, Teresa, what's the password to the bank account? Do you still have?
I'm pretty sure I can see Shrey's name there, but Shrey's not here. But Jamie's probably changed this. It was some combination of CSESoc Treasurer 2020 with a mixture of $ signs and exclamation marks in there. There you go, Shrey.
Yikes. Hopefully she has changed it.
Very secure. It was pretty secure. Okay.
Most rewarding thing about being an exec, I think this is similar to proudest moment, maybe? I don't know, you can say it's the same. Or do you have any other thought?
Maybe seeing the following year's exec team succeed, that was pretty rewarding. Don't really know what else. I don't know, I think that was very similar to the previous question.
Yeah, I feel like definitely like working with the people that you can work with, it's definitely a really rewarding thing. Like I can already feel it. I'm halfway through. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also just like the working with the people that we worked with last year. I mean, like the things that we worked on together, the friendships that I have made, I'm, they're invaluable, I think. So that as well, I would say.
Someone said this question, I feel like it's very similar to the one before as well. If someone wanted to get involved with CSESoc, how would they go about doing so? For example, joining Softcom. Oh no, the one before was like someone who's graduated. Okay, this might be a like first year student. So what advice would you give like a first year student to get involved?
And we can do a whole pitch here. So many different ways. Let me give you the list. That's probably even more now. But for me, it was definitely joining subcom, signing up to be a director, signing up to be exec, going to a workshop, going to the barbecues and meeting people when that is possible, presenting a workshop if you have something, if you feel up for it, and going to camp. Is that it? I'm sure there's more on the list.
Anyone else want to add to the list?
Just whatever comes into your face, like whatever experiences or opportunities come at you, just go for it. Like this is speaking from like if you are starting out to do extracurricular activity, then that's the mindset that helped me. And then once you start getting into the rhythm of doing extracurricular activity, then you start being like, oh wait, I only have 24 hours in my life every day. So then you start like having to assess and prioritize things and compromise a little bit more. But in the beginning, I think just anything that gets yourself out of the comfort zone will be the way to go.
Yeah, I think getting out of the comfort zone is one of like the most important reasons that why usually people do actually curriculum. Like you learn so much that you wouldn't in the classroom, and you grow by doing so. Well, we have the next 3 questions. First one, would you guys tell us where do you all work? And there's like questions on Atlassian and Canva. Let's start with like, where do you all work?
Teresa.
Let's go around.
Why just Shane? Why don't you go first?
Sure. Yeah, I'm at Atlassian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at Canva. I feel like the following questions already all know where we work.
Tammy?
I'm at Canva as well.
And
Tom?
I am at the University of New South Wales, Sydney. I haven't actually worked for I used to work for a smaller tech company, but I haven't worked for big tech just yet. Yeah.
But you work as a course admin, right?
Yeah. So that's most of what I do here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much your full-time job. Feels like it, right?
Pretty much. I'm a student too, I'm told.
Yeah. Wait, are you full-time still or doing part-time?
I think I will end up this year being a part-time student. I was going to be full-time, but then I changed that. I'm doing 4 or 5 courses this year.
Yeah. All right. So now that you all know where everyone works, so this question is directed to Tammy and Teresa. How do you prepare for tech interviews in Canva recruitment process? Any good resources?
I'm probably the worst person to ask because I only did the Canvas internship. Or I guess Teresa also did the same thing. We both did the internship interview, coding interview. But I don't know how Teresa prepared for it. Like for me, I actually don't know what I did. I just went to it and told myself, be myself. Yes, like just trust in, like I guess for me, like there's something a little bit different. I have a different attitude to interviews. Like to me, it's less of a like, oh, I have an interview next week, so I'm going to do this, and this to practice and prepare for the interview. Like for me, it's more like I have an interview next week. I'm going to trust that what I've done so far, I've tried my best for it. So next week, I'm going to just relax and be myself and just trying to show myself like everything I've done to this point. So I guess there's less of a preparation, like a targeted preparation for me in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's super important, like having a good mindset.
Yeah, I also didn't really prepare that much. I was not a very well prepared second year student, not knowing much about interviews and kind of just like, yep, all right, let's just wing it. And then you go in. But I think in hindsight now, if I were to prepare better, I definitely recommend doing a mock interview with someone, getting those nerves out early and getting those like, you're going to sit in front of someone like, and it's going to be scary. So I think once you get those nerves out and feel prepared, I think that's going to make yourself feel a lot better. And I'm not someone who grinds lead code, so I can't recommend that personally. I don't think I did any lead code, and I don't really think they help with the Canva interview if you're doing front end. I can't speak for back end interviews. Yeah, I think definitely being yourself, being calm really helped me. I think in comparison to my other interviews, what stood out to me for Canva was like I was a lot more chill and I was a lot more just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go with the flow and see how it goes. And the coding interview was more like, all right, you're just doing a problem with someone that just ignore the fact that that person's gonna judge whether you get into a job and then just code this problem. And yeah, Canva's problem was really fun. And once you get started, you kind of just forget about it, and it's not too bad.
I think +1 on that. I just remembered something because from what Teresa said, but like what helped me a lot was every time I have an interview, I treat that less like an interview. I treat it as a chat. If it's like a behavioral kind of thing, it's just a chat to get to know each other. It's not like a one-sided thing. And if it's like a technical interview, I always treat it as like, I don't know if this is a good way to go about it, but that's just my mindset. I treat it like a tutoring session. So you're basically learning from the other person and like you're just genuinely asking questions you don't know and genuinely doing things that you know and stuff. Like, so that helps me a lot in like relaxing and just being myself because that's how I learn or how I do things like normally, right? Yeah.
I was just gonna add on, Tammy. I did the exact same thing. I just pretend I'm teaching a class, and it's kind of like you want to dumb down, you want to like make everything as simple as possible, because this could be someone who's never coded before. If you're teaching like 1511, for example, so you want to make it as simple as possible and just explain as over explain, and I think because we all tutored before, tutoring is like kind of like our natural environment, our little happy place. So let's put ourselves into that zone.
So Teresa, you think doing a technical interview is like tutoring, but Tammy, did you say it's like more like going to a tutorial instead of you tutoring, like ask questions?
I think I had the opposite. Like I think Teresa's way, maybe I do it subconsciously in a way, because you kind of, the skills are kind of transferable across different things. So I probably do that subconsciously, but yeah, for me it's more I think Teresa goes in with the tutor perspective and I go in with the student perspective. So that's a pretty funny thing. Yeah, anyways, yeah.
Yeah, but like, yeah, if you're the person who like asks a lot of questions in your tutorial, that's probably a way to go about. Like, if you go into an interview, they want you to learn, like they want you to succeed, like the interviewer. So if you ask a question, like they think you're a good mentee, and that's like the more important than killing the entire interview process. You know everything. Sometimes they don't want people that know everything, right?
Yeah, I think I flipped it on the other end and was like tutoring, because I want to make sure like I get across a solution in a clear and concise way, because like in a tutorial you have all different kind of people who understand things differently, so you gotta like make sure you match it the right way. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it kind of does. Okay, this is the follow-up question, and Shane, you're involved because Atlassian interview, apparently they say it's not lead code. What do they actually ask you if it's not lead code questions?
So I did the internship interview, and that's how I'm there now. And when I did it, there was 3 interviews. One of them was like a lead code style question. One of them was like sort of pseudo system design sort of interview, but I think it was a bit more flexible than what like I think typical system design interviews are. And the other one was a behavioral one. But I don't know if that process has changed, if that process is different for grads, and if it's changed since I did my internship interviews. But yeah, I'd agree with Teresa for sure. I found tutoring has definitely helped me like articulate myself in those sorts of situations. That said, though, I hadn't actually done any tutoring when I interviewed for Atlassian then. So yeah.
Cool. What about Canva? What questions do they like usually ask you other than lead code questions?
Both Tammy and I did front end. We're both front enders, so none of our coding questions were lead code. Like quite the opposite actually. So we did front end. And we didn't have the 3 rounds that the grads have. We just have one longer round, about twice as long for one of the sessions. And then that one was basically they give you a UI challenge. So they give you like is this the same for you? I think it's the same for you. And then you code with them. They tell you like, oh, I don't know, like make a game, for example. I don't know, they make a game. And then you just code based on the specs, and it's all JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, no frameworks. Yeah, and it is kind of hard to prepare for. I think you gotta try out more. I didn't really. I don't know how I prepared, because I didn't really know much JavaScript back then. So, and I actually learned basically everything I knew about JavaScript from the interview. Going into my internship, everything I knew from JavaScript was from the interview. So they're really lenient and they're really helpful in like, I think the only thing I knew was like the programming fundamentals, like how to code. And then everything else of that was like, I didn't know, to give a background of of how little I knew, the only event I knew was OnClick, and that I was not used in the interview, and everything else it was Googleable or they helped you.
Similar for me as well. But I just thought about Comp 6080. I did that course after, like 2 years after, a year after my interview for Canva. So I guess I had the reverse realization. I think Comp 6080, like I don't know if it's helpful for the interview, but at least I think the things that you do in there is relevant to the stuff you do in the interview and the stuff you do.
It does turn out that if you have a course that's partially designed by people who work for Canva, it is kind of helpful for Canva internships and jobs. Who would have thought?
There we go.
That is a very good point. If you want to get a job at Canva, definitely take 6080. No question, not questionable at all. Okay. Let's have some fun questions. So, favorite non-CSESoc society? Everybody has to name one.
Mexoc for their memes.
Mexoc. All right, that's mechatronics.
Isn't it mechanical?
Mechanical? Is it? Oh,
I thought it was mechanical.
I think it is mechanical. It's.
I hope they're not watching. You're right. It's mechanical. Mechatronics is a different society called mechatronics. So I don't know. Tom?
Oh, CSESoc? I'll go and change my hoodie if you want. I can come back with my CSESoc hoodie rather than my CSESoc hoodie. Would that be helpful?
Cool, security. Send me introduce that.
With Women in Tech. I was actually a part of Women in Tech subcom back in first year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so yeah.
I say dog sock because their hoodie is really cute.
There is a dog sock.
Yes, of course.
Oh, that's so cute. Okay, cool. What drove you to apply to be an exec?
Sid and Ali.
I was gonna say the same.
Yeah, I think the same as me.
I think
They said it'd be a good idea. They lied.
I think I wanted to be on the exec, but I had a chat to Sid about it, and I was just like, "There's no way that I have the time to be president." And it just so happened that the requirement for a grievance officer came in, and so the fact that then became like a separate position meant that I could apply for that. And it also, like, in addition to just being very convenient in terms of the fact that it's not being the president of the society, it was also quite good because it like meant that I was almost like an executive without portfolio role, so I could help out in different places. And also I think it matched up with my desire for the society to be inclusive, and to be and to like to deal with to any issues that came up, and my skill set and my desire to deal with that. So that's kind of why I ran for exec and why I ran for grievance officer specifically. Also, I wanted to incorporate the society.
I think that was the perfect role for you, Tom. Definitely.
Thank you.
I think.
Yeah. Sorry, Teresa.
I think I wanted to. Yeah, I really wanted to get involved again, but I didn't really know what to go for. And then if so exec comes first, and then as in like it comes first in the choosing order, and then it comes director. If I didn't get exec, I would have gone for director. If I didn't get director, I would have gone for subcom. So just a sequence of events I just tried out. And I just wanted to be a part of the society again. I really enjoyed what I did for Comp Club. I would have really wanted to be Comp Club director again, but I really wanted to give our subcom a chance to step up and try out a different role. So I would have gone back and become a Comp Club subcom if I didn't get director or exec. And yes, but now he really pushed it really hard with it. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome. And I'm like, and I think all of us considered how the heck are we gonna have time for this? And then you just go for it and see how it goes.
I think didn't
Yep.
mention this, but Sid and Ali is the 2019
Yep.
co-president, just in case, because I think yeah, it's been a while. But on a more serious note, like for me, it was coming back to the comfort zone thing again. Just something that's gonna make me a bit uncomfortable. So I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And it's a really good opportunity to see things from a different perspective. I feel like it's a really unique kind of opportunity because you get to, manage different things, see how to, it's kind of like a mini, business. Well, it's like, yeah, it's kind of like a mini business kind of thing. And yeah, you learn a lot of people skills out of it. Well, I didn't know that back then, but like it was a new perspective and I knew I was going to get a lot of different things from what I was experiencing out of it. So that was a reason.
Talking about Sid and Ali, what do you think of Sid and Ali? Why were they your driving force to become exec?
They led a really awesome team in 2019. Like I loved the team in 2019. I think if we didn't loved it as much as we did, I don't think we would have applied again. And then yeah, they're awesome. I think this question is trying to get more tea out of us, but I don't think we have any.
They were my role model. Oh, it's a little bit cringy the way I'm saying this, but like when I first started doing exec stuff, like I was at the back of my mind, I always thought about how they did things. Because in a director's perspective, when I was doing director stuff, like they were the people that I always went to when I struggled, and I felt really comfortable being open with them, and like they just did really well in what they did. So like I looked up to them a lot, and so yeah, I think that's my summary.
It's a bit home, Shane.
Yeah, I'm home now.
You wanna tell us about Sid and Ali?
Oh, I just really got on with them. They were so cool. Wait, I'm getting an echo in my earphones. Hello?
Hello.
Oh, cool. Can you hear me still?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, no, they were like just awesome to like work with when I was a director in 2019, and they just said it'd be a good idea, and I think it was like it would be a good idea to do exec, and I think they were right. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, they are right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're back to Canva questions. This is so specific, but I think you guys did front end. So how can you prepare for concurrency interview for Canva? I think that's for back end. Does anyone know anything about that?
Concurrency.
I've never heard of a
concurrency.
interview. I don't even think we have a concurrency interview on the back end.
Maybe new this year. I don't know.
Just put locks
Not-
everywhere. Just
Lock
one,
everything.
like you take the Python approach. What you do is you just put one big lock at the top, and you'll like make the entire program a critical section. And then at the end you just say unrelated lock, and that way you have passed. You have passed concurrency. That's my like
guarantee no race conditions. That's 100% guarantee. You can prove that.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, because when you have
if there's no concurrency, you don't get any race conditions. This is
exactly. That's what I'm gonna say. Does Canva culture live up to the hype? I don't know. Do you guys enjoy it? Working there right now?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell like more about the culture?
It's. I find this question really hard to answer. A lot of people ask me what's Canva culture like, and I don't know how to put it into words. It's to me, it's like going to work and then everyone's like super friendly. I can always know that I can ask people questions. And yeah, and people are really smart. A lot of like people are really, really smart, and Tom, maybe you have a way better answer than me at this because I'm giving a terrible answer to this question right now.
I guess different people have different interpretations about uni, but for me it was like uni but work, kind of thing, because it was like everyone, it's just like uni, like you talk to your friends, you work with your friends, you just ask questions when you need to, like, yeah, it's like uni, like you don't feel like it's, you know, work, like,
That's,
well, at least
that's actually so true.
work, yeah.
And like it's literally like a uni. So imagine you have the work side, which is like the uni work, and then we have all the clubs, which is the societies. And then it actually feels like I've just moved uni, but into like a work form.
With free food as well. Uni with
uni has free food as well.
That's pretty good. The thing you get paid is that you pay for uni.
Except yeah, I pay a lot for uni, and Canva pays me, which is pretty nice.
Now they pay you to go to like a different kind of uni. That's so cool, right? Yeah. That's what good culture gives you. Awesome. I love this question. Who will win a fight? 2020 execs versus 2021 execs.
Ooh.
Shane's
There
gonna
are 6 of us.
flex muscle.
Yeah, there was one more.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a fair point.
All right, I'm gonna go 2020.
I won't argue with that. Okay, let's move on. Moving on to okay, Shane. For Atlassian project round, how thorough does our project scope have to be? Oh, okay. So the project's interview.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm not 100% sure I understand what the question's asking, but I can just.
Did you have like a personal projects round that they just ask you about your projects? Like the
Yeah, I did have one of those. I just don't really know like what they mean by thorough scope. But like I was saying before, I don't think it's a typical system design interview. Like for instance, I just talked about like really just an algorithm, like a well-known algorithm that I didn't come up with, but I implemented, and like used the whiteboard and everything. It was very much just like what Teresa was saying, just like a tutoring, probably similar to how like a tutor would go. And that was fine for me. And that's not really like, that's not very system designy, like just implementing a well-known algorithm. But like, I think if it's something that you're comfortable talking about in depth and like you can say a lot about it and what the interesting bits were, I think that should be okay. At least that was my experience.
Okay, thanks for that. See you, Tammy. She's gonna be back. Okay, I think we've asked a lot of questions about Canva and Atlassian. Let's direct some questions to Tom. Tom, when are you doing your 3900 sprint items?
I feel personally attacked. I will have Shrey, who is the author of that question, know that I completed the sprint item for my Comp 3900 project last night. He just refuses to accept that putting JSON on the screen is the same thing as having a front end. So my front end that I designed is literally just JSON output, and I will have him know that that is sufficient and necessary. So yeah, thank you.
Wait, like a console log on the console, a bunch of JSON, or literally on the page?
No. It shows up in a pre-formatted element. The other response which I have, which I'll go with as well, is is this one at Shrey. Or in fact, I could also go with this one, which is my skip card, which is I'll just skip out on any responsibility for this week's sprint. There's my answer to that question.
Next time I need to prepare for a deck of cards.
It's really important. I think it's incredibly important to have that ready for interviews, for Zoom calls, for anything.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that for my interviews.
My tutoring strategy is, student ask the question like, how does this thing work? And well, how do you think that works? Yeah.
Tom, tell us about a time when you used that in an interview, please.
when I've used it as Uno card. That'd be incredibly funny. I think, that might show some personality. It shows, there's that tip that, like, it's not just like that they're controlling the interview. You both, like, are interviewing together. So surely you can just use a Uno card to, like, skip out of questions that you don't like. Surely. That's terrible advice. Right. Please don't follow that advice. Do not do that.
So they're like, all right, Tom, this is the technical question I want you to think. Like, no, you answer the question.
How would you solve this question?
I mean, like, on the subject of interviews, though, I would say, like, you can get a good way to solving the problem by listening to what the interviewer is saying. So I've done quite a few interviews this year for internships, and my experience has been, you can get very good hints from the person who is doing the interview if you're asking them questions, if you're presenting your things clearly, if you're talking about what you're doing. You can actually end up with a good part of the solution. I had an interview earlier this year where I was relatively lost on what I was doing, but with enough prodding from the person who was interviewing, the people who were interviewing me, I ended up sort of remembering something that I'd seen ages ago and was like, oh, hold on, it's this thing and this thing. Oh, wait, hold on, this is what you do. And then that sort of like led to the solution. I don't know if that's everyone else's experience, but that's certainly been mine.
I think that makes sense. Definitely ask for hints when you're stuck. The interviewers will give you really good ideas on how to move on.
Yeah, you can even ask like, are there any other questions that you think I should have asked, or are there other things that you would have added into this, and you can try and see if you can turn the tables on them.
Are we talking about preparation for interviews?
I moved the question towards that from whatever we were talking about before, because whatever we were talking about before, which I think had to do with Uno cards, I was like, this doesn't seem like a useful topic for an interview.
Yeah. Tom, another question for you. How did you prepare? Talking about interviews, how did you prepare for your UNSW interviews? Did you do any interviews for UNSW
interviews?
I don't know. I don't know what they're asking. Like, did you do?
So there's no interview process for becoming a tutor or an admin.
Yeah.
The process for becoming a tutor is you submit a video, which is approximately 60 seconds long, give or take. You fill in an application form, and yeah, then gets submitted and it gets looked at by the admins and lecturers. Becoming an admin is even weirder of a thing to do. There isn't a process, and there's not even, we were talking about this earlier today, there's no definition of what it means to be an admin. Like, it's just, you get asked to help on some stuff by lecturers, and then you keep doing it, and then they're like, oh, we'll just put you officially as helping me, and then that's sort of how that works. I don't think I've had any interviews for UNSW personally.
Follow-up question: did you do 200 lead code questions?
I have probably done in my life 30 or 40 leet code style questions. That's probably an overestimate if I had to guess. Most of those were when I was preparing for the Australian Informatics Olympiad like a while ago. I have not spent a lot of time doing leet code questions in my life. The closest I've come is trying to solve question 7s and 8s of Comp 1511 exams, to be honest with you. And those aren't really leet code questions anyway. They're just sort of interesting questions.
Cool. I think this is a really good question for everyone. How do you manage your time at uni between extracurriculars, tutoring courses, applying for internships, and everything? How do you balance it out?
I think Teresa should answer that. I feel like Teresa's on top of everything.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say Tammy.
And Tammy as well.
Yeah, it was hard. It was pretty rough. I think I think at some point I was tutoring 3 courses, doing part-time work, doing extracurriculars for 3 societies, and then doing 3 courses at the same time. And it was absolutely wild. It was not good. I think the main thing I did was just like minimizing the time, and I don't recommend it, by the way. Like, I do not think this is a good way to go about this. I don't think it was good for my mental health at all. So it was like just like super stress inducing. You don't know how to switch off. And like the minute any of those things end, like the minute CSESoc ended, I was just like, what am I doing with my time? Like I have a break. That was kind of weird. So I don't think it was a good idea. I would definitely recommend. I think if I were to go back and redo that, I would not do that much because it wasn't like it's not like I could do a really good job in any of them properly. But I think to manage my time, I tried to plan a lot, write down a lot of to-do lists. If I ever get overwhelmed, I'd just write everything down and then put it into perspective, saying, okay, do I have a lot? If I do, then what's the most urgent? What can I compromise on? And then go that way. It was a little bit easier last year because it was a lot of just like lockdown, so I was at my desk, so I can switch between things easily. The commute time was cut down a lot. Yeah, like a lot of balancing and a lot of planning, but don't recommend at all.
I've just thought of two examples that I think are good for time management, but or at least for me, I like to, and I think this is quite common. I like to minimize context switching because I find that I pay like a pretty hefty overhead. Like every time I switch from doing one thing to another, like it takes, you gotta like flush the caches and all that. But yeah, I think there is like genuinely a big cognitive overhead anytime you switch from doing one task to another. So I'll try and minimize those, and also time boxing things because like I could easily, like tutoring is a good example. I could go down like a rabbit hole, thinking like if I want to prepare like a tutorial, I can like there's oftentimes a lot that I'd like to talk about, but I would just time box it and say, okay, I'll just spend like the next hour covering like all the things that I like absolutely need to cover, and then I don't know, maybe like half an hour I can go down like a little rabbit hole and talk about something like only tangentially related or something, and that's it.
One more time.
Me?
Yeah, well, yeah. Do you want to go next?
I always ask other people the same question. And I've encountered people asking me these questions. I'm guessing it's just from like a third person's perspective. Like you're always gonna think, wait, everyone around me is so much more organized. Like, how are they managing time? And how or, stuff like that. And it's like I think I try to manage my time. So it was a struggle, and like mental health wasn't great kind of thing. But I think in terms of tools, like a little bit more practical advice is Google Calendar saved my life, and Notion, to like write everything down. So like brain dump everything. I have the worst memory to remember things. So I basically don't try and remember anything. I write down everything. And like I think Shane talked about time boxing before. I tried doing that on my calendar. So you have like a separate calendar thing on your Google Calendar and just set up times. But I think different things work for different people. So that might not work too well if you prefer to be a little bit more flexible. Then you might just want to set some goals. But yeah, I think in terms of more practical advice, Google Calendar. Use Google Calendar to manage your time.
Yeah, how about you?
I genuinely don't have much to add. I'm not particularly amazing at managing my time. I keep a list of things that I need to do, and that list tends to grow. And I don't know when it's going to go to zero. I don't think it ever will. It's kind of terrifying. I think I agree with what Tammy said, particularly just about everyone. Everyone looks like they're managing their time better than you are, and you don't see the times when they're not managing their time well, or you don't see the times when they're off, having time with friends or whatever. The other thing I'd say though is, and that's really important, like having time to spend with your friends, having time to spend not working is like incredibly useful. I probably take that overboard sometimes, but yeah, would recommend.
yeah, thanks for those advice. I think they're all really valuable managing tools, or just don't take that much work for your own sanity. But yeah, we have a last few questions. What are your top tips for students early in their uni degree? I feel like we already answered that, but for the actual curriculum part, but like overall, any general tips for like first year students?
If you're gonna pick a time to try stuff out and to even go a bit overboard, do it in first year. The reason I say that is because like it's much harder to join new groups of people and to do interesting things if you're in third year. Like I've joined one new thing in the past 2 years, whereas in first year I tried quite a lot. The other thing is like realistically your first year marks, like if you're in an interview and you're worried like what if they're looking at my first year marks, like you can just tell them it was first year and you didn't know how to study and it'll be fine. So apart from comp 1511, which of course you should do really really well in, and I'm not biased at all in saying that, genuinely, like don't worry too much about marks when you're in first year. Try and do other stuff and explore and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, +1. I got a lot of value from joining CSESoc and also from tutoring. Like I think those for me were like stand out as just things that I really gained so much from in different ways. Like those two things, they taught me a lot of different things. So that'd be my advice. Try and do that.
Two on Tom's. Absolutely agree. Yeah, trying out a lot of things, and I'll steal Tammy's as well, which is the trying out like things that make you feel uncomfortable. Like a lot of the things I would have done, I probably like. I don't think if there was a lot of part of me that was like, oh, I don't usually do this. This feels really weird. But then when you do it, it's like, oh, this is something I do because you just did it. So it's pretty. Yeah, I definitely recommend trying out as much as you can in first year and figure out what you like and don't like. If you don't like societies, try something else.
And do you have any,
first year was something really good about like if you're just coming into uni, or when you just come into uni, or the first year you come into uni and stuff. It was really good for me because that really I stress out about socializing with people and like making friends and stuff. So first year was like, for me, it was really good where I told myself, hey, like everyone's coming in new and no one's like gonna know each other. So you might as well just be really weird and go out and like socialize and try and get to know people and, you know, make friends and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, focus on making friends, getting experiences, not just like not saying that you shouldn't care about your work coursework, because that's also pretty important, depending on what you want to achieve as well in the future. So yeah, making friends.
Can I add something to that, which I just thought of from what other people are saying here as well? One thing that has taken me a while to get a grip on as I've gone through university has been like, when you're in high school, everything is dictated for you pretty much, and the extent of choices that you have is maybe like what extracurricular you're doing or who your friends are, and even then that's sort of like sometimes dictated for you. But once you get into university, like you can literally do anything that you want. You can choose to join any society. You can choose to spend your time pretty much however you want within reason. That flexibility is kind of hard to appreciate if you've left a high school environment that's very much like regimented, or at least sort of structured. So take that opportunity to consider like, what do you want? And if you don't know, do stuff so you can find that out, and do stuff that is like different, and take those sort of opportunities if you can. Because that ability to explore who you are, as sort of trite as it sounds, is also really important.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with like all of you. Trying out different things in your first and second year, use those like time that you have and utilize it, and yeah, find your interest, because when you get to later years, you might not have the time. all right, we are coming to an end, and let's get to like the last two questions. What's the best and worst things about 2021 execs have done? Like, what have we done that you think it's the best or worst thing ever?
I think the best, I think, is an easy answer for me. I reckon the Discord is probably what I've found most valuable from what you guys have done this year. And I don't know, I think there's been some good podcasts. Can't think of anything crap that you guys have done, but maybe come back to me on that.
All right. Yeah, I like the Discord. Anyone else?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely the podcast and all the media videos. It's something I put in the background when I'm gonna commute to work, and I really enjoy it.
And the AMAs have been good as well. I forgot about those.
When you're in it, you forgot about it.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. I've enjoyed the AMAs. I think the exec have done a good job this year dealing with the pandemic as well, as far as I've seen. I think that is a regrettable thing to have to deal with, and I think that it's this year and next year, hopefully just this year and next year's last year and this year's exec that will have to deal really with the ramifications of what that means for how to run a society. I hope that in 2022 it's nothing that's nearly as much as a problem, but yeah, I have to hats off to them for that. And sorry, I don't have anything bad to say about them, because that seems like a bad strategy for remaining friends with those on the exec who I'm friends with. And also, I don't actually have any complaints. I think they've done a great job, and in some respects better than we did, which is a good thing.
Plus one on what Tom said about COVID. I think this year was like might be harder than last year as well, because like last year we had to deal with the transition online with COVID, which was the first time ever, which was really tough. But this year they have, I think, you guys have a different challenge where it's very like a wave, like, you know, it's very inconsistent. Like you might be online sometimes, and then you might have to you might want to go face to face, and like we're in lockdown now, but like 4 weeks ago we weren't, kind of thing. So it's like there's a lot of things changing right now that you guys are coping with. Yeah,
thanks for all the good things that you said. Yeah, no like bad things at all, like any feedback or anything.
I'll let you know.
All right. Thanks for that. Last question. What do you regret doing or not doing at uni? More like a general thing, not other than a society. Anything that you regret?
Actually, wait, little pet peeve. I've never really been a fan of the not like the very jokey questions on the AMAs, like the bread recursive sandwich and all that. Like I don't know. There's maybe, but I mean, if that's what people like,
No,
if
I realized we did not ask any of that today.
Yeah, and I didn't even like tell you that I didn't like those, but I don't.
All right, glad to know. Good to know. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, more serious question. Do you regret anything like throughout your entire year, because most of you graduated?
Nah,
Nothing.
no way.
Surely. Anything regret doing or not doing?
I have a suspicion that when I leave uni, I will both regret and not regret having done as much work as I have done. Because I think to some extent, so I am still a student, but in a lot of ways I consider myself not as much of a student as I was in first year, because I do a lot of other things as well. And so I think that that's probably, for me, I think a bit more time having not done work and having just experienced uni from that perspective probably would have been something that I'll want to do. But also, like, I love what I do, and so maybe not. Who knows? It's hard to say.
I think there's things that I wanted to do, or I was like, oh, I could have done this, or I could have done that, but it's not really regret, because if you did what you wanted to do, like something that you didn't do that you wanted to do, you might have lost something else that you've done. and you've, you know, gained. So I think just doing things, like even if it's something that didn't turn out well, I think I got a lot out of the experience. And so something that may seem like something that could be a regret, you can think of it as a learning experience, which turns it into a not regret, because in the long term, it kind of is beneficial to another thing that you might, you know, experience and stuff. So I don't think there's a regret. It's like, oh, I should have done this, or I should have done that, because it's not the end of your life. Like after uni, like if you haven't done something, you can still pursue it in another, you know, in another environment after uni. And it's the process, I feel. Yeah.
I really like that mindset. It's like you shouldn't regret anything, because anything you've done, like you got something out of it. And but regretting it doesn't give you anything. Like it's useless. By just thinking about, oh, I should have done this. Instead, you should just move on and think about the good side, what you learn from it.
Wise words, Kai. Wow.
I got it from Tammy. Just a summary. But that's all of our questions. It's the most perfect timing ever. It's like exactly 8 o'clock. Thank you so much, everyone, to spending your time with us, and thanks everyone that's listening. Thank you for being here, and yeah.
Thanks, Kai.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kai.
Thank
On
you.
the screen. Okay, no worries.